The Seattle Seahawks can still extend some key players before the start of the 2025 season. What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well today. Took a couple days off from posting videos, which probably get used to that during the rest of this month and July as well, because there's not going to be a ton going on for a little while here. But wanted to go ahead and reiterate some things that I talked about way back at the start of the offseason, because technically things have changed. I don't know if that much has changed with regards to what we're going to talk about in this video, but this stuff bears repeating because it's easy to forget about this stuff when you're getting caught up in all the other things we did during the off season. We are here on June 17th right now, midway through one of the more dead months of the off season, and with everything this team has done over the last 6 months or so, there is still an opportunity for this team to solidify their future by securing some of their younger players on long-term deals. And obviously there's one big one, but realistically there are 6 players the team needs to make a decision on this offseason. And with some of them, I think they've already made the decision. Let's talk about this for a few minutes here. Let's revisit. I'm going to be reiterating some of the things I said in videos I made way back in, I want to say, January. Maybe it was February, but this stuff bears repeating because the 2022 draft class for the Seahawks was a very good one. The Seahawks made a lot of good picks, and they have come away with a lot of good players, a lot of starters in that draft. And this offseason, the 2025 offseason, is the first offseason where you could have extended them to long-term contracts. Now, as of right now, we haven't extended any of them. And all those players are under contract for at least one more year. Of those 6 players you would reasonably consider extending. So there's no urgency, but there also kind of is urgency if you want these players to be longtime Seahawks. So we're going to talk about it a little bit. Obviously, the big one is Charles Cross, and Field Goals actually did a little blurb yesterday talking about a potential contract extension with Charles Cross. He's the big one, but he's not the only one. So let's go through our guys. So Charles Cross is definitely the most interesting because of these 6 players. He's, I think, pretty clearly the best, at least in terms of the most desirable to keep. Maybe Woolen's been better so far in his career, but I think you'd be very hard-pressed to argue that keeping Woolen is more of a priority than keeping Cross. Cross is playing one of the most valuable positions in football, had a breakout year last year, while at the same time having his value get depressed by playing with Ryan Grubb. So this is the guy that you have to make sure that you keep. Like, I don't know how you would consider playing this out any other way. This team has been pressed very badly for offensive line help for a very long time. They finally use a high pick on one, a top 10 pick, and he's been good. He's been good. I know it hasn't been a completely clear path to stardom for him, but last year he showed real improvement. He's coming along, and I think that this is one that needs to be taken care of. Now, I understand that there are 2 years left on his deal now because you picked up that 5th-year option, right? You've got this year at a cap hit of $6.8 million, and then you've got the 2026 club option that has been picked up at 17.6. So you've got him for 2 more years, but that just means you have more leverage. And if you negotiate a contract extension with him now, there will be additional urgency on his part to come to a deal, which is why you want to do this now. You get the opportunity to put Cross in a situation where he's like, do I really want to play out these next, maybe not just 1 year, but 2 years without long-term contract money? And am I going to be willing to take a slight discount, take a more reasonable deal to secure the long-term cash? Most players are. It's the give and take of these contracts. You take care of me early, I'll take care of you with a more reasonable deal. Happens all the time. If you extend Charles Cross now, my estimate, and I did the calculations on this months and months ago, I'm not going to repeat all the points, but I theorized that an extension on Charles Cross would be 4 years, $104 million. Now, given the fact that he has 2 years left on his deal, maybe it would be like 3 years, $78 million instead, because that would make it a 6 years left on his deal. He might not want that. He might want something a year more short term, but same idea. You take care of that, you get that money down, and either way, he's a Seahawk for a long time, and you're getting him at about, again, the extension itself is going to be somewhere around $26 million a year, but remember, you also have those first 2 years where it's a lot less. The first year being 6.8, second year being 17.6, much more reasonable, much more cost effective. So you're really talking about extending it out to like a 5-year or 6-year additional years beyond where we are right now, right? So that's a really reasonable price for a player that is headed the way that Charles Cross is headed. And if you wait until next year, you're probably looking at more like a $30 million a year deal, because the cap will go up. Some other left tackle is going to sign a big deal that's going to push up what Cross can ask for. That's just how this stuff works. And also you have less leverage because he only has 1 year left on his deal instead of 2. And if you wait for the year after that, after 2026, it might be 33, 34. So get this done now. Like, do not mess this up. The waiting on these extensions, this is what the teams like the Dallas Cowboys do. That's why they always end up paying top dollar for their top players. They don't take care of this stuff early, so the player doesn't give them a break. And that's really what we're talking about here. This is the guy that you could leverage the best, right? Because he's got 2 years left on his deal, and because his play is so far above and beyond where he's getting paid right now. All right. So that's Charles Cross. I do want to talk about these other guys a little bit as well, though, because I think there is some real value in extending them, or at least discussing it. Boye Mafe would be the next guy here. He has 1 year left on his deal at about $2.7 million. Now, Mafe is coming off a year where it looked like he was going to be off to the races and have that big breakout year, but I think it was his shin he hurt against New England and played through it the rest of the year. So he didn't really have the big breakout year. He was still good. He was still fine. But again, like Cross, his value is probably at a low point right now. If there's ever an opportunity to get a guy like Boye Mafe at a reduced rate, it's going to be right now after a season where his production wasn't stellar and he still has a year left on his deal. At only 2.7, by the way. So there's great motivation for him to get an extension. I estimated a Mafe extension would look a little like Nwosu's old extension, 3 years, $45 million total. Now, I'm a little on the fence about this one, admittedly. I think it would be okay. I would be much more inclined to do it if you could get a little bit of a discount here, like maybe 3 years, 39. If you could get him at like 3 years, 39 million total, so 13 million a year, then I think you're probably in that territory where I'd feel pretty good about doing it. But can you get him there? I don't know. And there is some value to just letting it ride, letting it play out. Maybe you get to the end of the year and you're like, he's not that good. Maybe he's just not that guy. And I can go either way on this one. But here's the thing. If he has a big breakout year, if he does have that 12, 13, 14 sack season in 2025, you're in for it. you're talking 25 million a year at least. Pass rushers get paid. You're talking of 4 years, 100 million, maybe more, because he's going to be on the open market then. You'll have no leverage. You can franchise tag him, but have fun dealing with that. So it's an interesting thought experiment. The issue, I guess, is also if you pay him at like 13 to 15 million a year and then he has a monster breakout year, he might hold out, but it's harder to hold out these days, right? So he might not be able to get away with that. That might not be something he can even really do. Okay, the next guy would be Ken Walker. I don't think there's much to talk about here, to be perfectly honest. He's a running back. He already can't stay healthy. But I guess the interesting thought here is that he's probably going to have an incredible year this year if he can stay healthy, because he's a perfect fit for Kubiak's scheme, right? So you re-sign him right now. You're not going to get him super cheap because he is talented. He has been productive in his career, and other running backs that have been less productive than him in his career and are clearly of a lesser caliber of player, guys like Chuba Hubbard, are getting paid decent amounts too. But this is, again, kind of the low point of his value. You're never, unless he just completely misses the entire 2025 season, his value will not be lower than it is right now, because he is coming off a year where he couldn't stay on the field and didn't play that well. There's no way, barring catastrophic injury, that he doesn't have a big 2025. He's a perfect fit for Kubiak's offense. So I estimate the extension would probably look like 3 years, 24 million, maybe 2 years, 16 million, something like that. 8 million per on an extension. And I'm not doing it, but I could see it. I can understand the wisdom here. I can understand the thought process of get him before he becomes potentially a $10 million, $12 million a year running back next year. If he's about to hit the market coming off a big year in Kubiak's scheme, that's a realistic possibility. But at the end of the day, he's a running back, and I'm not trying to pay a running back that kind of money. So I'm gonna pass on this one. It is worth thinking about. Next guy's Abe Lucas. This one's really, really difficult because he's had such a hard time staying on the field so far in his career. He's played 10 games total over the last 2 seasons combined. He missed, I want to say, a game or two in 2022 as well. But when he's played good. And tackles get paid in this league. Tackles make money. And again, this is just an opportunity to get in there before the money really kicks in. Like right now, his cap hit for next year is 3.7 million approximately. So yeah, 3.7 million. And if you extend him, what are you looking at? 2 years 20, 3 years 30, probably somewhere around that 10 million a year mark, because his play has been good when he's been on the field. And all indications this offseason have been this guy's finally healthy. This guy's finally ready to go. We got something good cooking here. He's ready to be the player that we were hoping for when he was drafted consistently, meaning he stays out there the whole season, or most of it at least. And if he does that, if he does have a healthy, good 2025 season, he might get like 18 to 20 million a year next year. So again, this is an opportunity to get in very cheap on Abe Lucas. And maybe the extension would only be 2 years because of the injury. Maybe you push it to 3. But either way, you're appending it to the end of this rookie deal. That's less than 10 million a year for a good right tackle. And right tackles, they can get paid. Lucas, look for him to get 17 million a year minimum next offseason if he has a really good, healthy season. That I think he is capable of having. So this one's the big risk. I kind of like doing this one. I would kind of be into like doing 2 years, 20 million on Abe Lucas. I think that it's worth the risk. And at the end of the day, we have to get our offensive line sorted. And guys like Abe Lucas, guys like Charles Cross, are fully capable of being foundational pieces on this offensive line. I'm not looking to go for more mystery boxes on the offensive line right now. Okay, we got two more guys here. First one is Coby Bryant. I don't think this one's all that compelling either, personally. He's entering the last year of his deal at 3.6 million per. Well, not per, but 3.6 million cap hit, because he did have a productive 2024, so he did get some pay bumps here. And an extension is kind of hard to figure. I estimated somewhere around 2 years, 12 million, because he hasn't put together a full good season yet. And you look at safeties of the caliber of Coby Bryant, they typically don't get paid early, and they don't get paid a ton of money. So I think you're looking at something like 2 years, 12, maybe 3 years, 18. And I think he's probably worth that, and I'd be okay doing that. But you just spent this second round pick on Warry, and you've got Julian Love there, who is a better player by a good amount than Coby Bryant. I just don't think it's necessary to give out even a moderate safety contract to Coby. I wouldn't be against it, but I don't know where he fits in. Like, you didn't draft Warry to be your third safety. I don't think you're paying Coby Bryant $6 million a year or even $5 million a year to be a third safety. I know he's got a little bit of cornerback experience, and so does Warry, but we're staring down the barrel of paying Witherspoon a lot of money in a couple of off seasons here, maybe even one off season. I don't know if we need to be throwing more money at secondary players. So I'm kind of a no here. I don't hate the idea, but I just don't think it fits. And then the final guy, and this one's another kind of tricky one, Tariq Woolen, who has earned a lot of bonuses for that final year of his deal coming up this year. 5.4. Yeah, 5.4 million. And an extension is really hard to figure because the guy has great ball production. The guy has great coverage metrics. The guy is immensely talented. But there are some big shortcomings here. So this one's really hard to figure out for me. If he wanted to get paid $20 million a year plus, I wouldn't be shocked. If he was going to get something like 11 mil plus, I wouldn't be shocked. This one's all over the place. I could see anything from like 3 years, 33 million to 3 years, 45 million very reasonably. I'm not into this one. I just don't think that you can pay Tariq Woolen what he's going to be looking for unless it's a lot less than I'm expecting, and still pay Witherspoon. And paying Witherspoon is much more important. So I don't think I can get behind this one. I think paying both of these corners is just too much. Now, if you're looking at Tariq Woolen in a vacuum, if you could get him for like even 3 years, 39, so that's 13 million a year, that's probably fair. I'm a little bit worried about what Woolen's going to do after he gets paid, because we're already seeing some lackadaisical play from him before he's gotten paid. I'm a little bit worried about what he's going to do after he gets paid, but that's a risk that you have to take sometimes with these players that have never gotten real money before and now they get money. So maybe you just have to shrug your shoulders and say, okay, let's just hope it works out, right? In a vacuum, sure. Now, if you're pushing it up to that 3 years, 45, so it's like 15 million a year, I struggle with that because there are obvious shortcomings here. I mean, every time we play the Niners, look at what Shanahan does. He just runs outside zone and pitch plays to Woolen's side, knowing that Woolen can't do anything about it. I struggle to get up to 15, 16 million a year on a corner that is that clearly not into that part of the game, because it is an important part of what we do here in Seattle. So I'm a little bit cold on this one. I don't think you can make it work. If you're going to do this, I guess you got to be willing to go super cheap at safety, because Witherspoon's probably going to be 25 million a year. Witherspoon is that guy. Witherspoon is that good. So are you really going to pay your two starting corners a combined $40 million a year? And then what do you, I mean, like at that point, you're probably moving off of Julian Love. Maybe Emin Wari is somebody that you are only betting on for his rookie deal. Like, I don't know, man. Like that's hard to figure. And my inclination is just to try to do a little bit better with whoever you get to replace Woolen. You're not going to replace him in coverage, but a more well-rounded player. I mean, maybe the way you make this work is if you plan on moving off of Julian Love and then you re-sign Coby Bryant for like $5 million a year, and then that's your safety, one of your starting safeties, and then you've got Emin Wari on the rookie deal, and it's a pretty reasonably priced secondary at that point, I guess. But you're talking about like 40 million at safety, and then 10 million. No, 40 million at corner, 10 million total at safety. I don't know. All right, so that's a rundown of the extensions we can do and my estimates on what the extensions would look like. Let me know what you think. See you guys later. Go Hawks.